And just a reminder that we are being recorded and posted. Lori's here. Excellent. Okay, Trevor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:06 a.m. First matter of business is the approval of the agenda. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder that Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee agenda for June 24th, 2024 be approved as presented. Do I have a mover? Fern, and seconder Julie. Any questions regarding the agenda? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Does any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest at this time? Not seeing any. Minutes of the previous meeting. So we have a prepared motion that the minutes of Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting of March 18th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Do I have a mover for this? Maya moves, and a seconder. Lori, thank you. Any questions regarding those minutes? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item 5 is delegations, positions, presentations. I'm not seeing any on here. That's correct, Clerk Cronin. Okay, and number 6 is committee member comments. Do any committee members have any comments at this time? Julie has her hand up, and then I'll go Julie and then Lori after Julie, okay?
Okay, I have a few things. First, I wanted to congratulate Maya on completing the Access Now Next Gen program. I was one of the mentors of the program, and not mentoring Maya, but I just want to say that Maya got like a shout out in the final day presentation of the projects, and everybody loved what Maya was saying and doing. So congratulations, Maya. It's fantastic. Yay, Maya. I wanted to let you guys know that the tunnel is done and I've been through it myself. It was a pretty special moment to get through the tunnel. I'm going to go back and measure the slope to make sure that it is manageable. I was on my powered device, so it was easy because I had batteries. I'll need to do some measurements to see what it's like on my bike. I wanted to talk about the confusion, the lack of plan for a sidewalk connecting the new facility south of Goderich to the rest of town. And there's been like a lot of kind of going around and trying to figure things out. And Trevor and I have talked, and I just want to know what we can ask of council to make sure that in future designs, there's always a connection between the facility and the town that's accessible via sidewalk. And like, I don't know what needs to change about bylaws and responsibilities, but something like this shouldn't happen in the future because we've identified it as an issue now. So I'm not quite sure how to proceed with like asking council. And I know there's like levels of complication because the MTO is involved. Hannah, do you have anything that you can add to that? Or maybe this isn't the best time to talk about it. I'm not quite sure. I just wanted to raise that it was brought to my attention as a massive concern from the people who are going to be moving into that space.
Clerk Cronin.
So just for the benefit of the committee, all members, some of them are not quite aware of the emails that were, rapidly going around. I'm not quite sure whether, Trevor, would you be the best to give a little bit of a quick history on this? Or just because it's Goderich, I'm throwing you under the bus here, but.
No, it's fine. It's you're not throwing me under the bus at all. I think it's, it's an unfortunate circumstance that, we've been made aware of, which was not made. I didn't really know anything about what was going on other than this wonderful facilities being built. That's going to be almost double the size of the current facility that stands on the corner of South and Bennett. In saying that, Julie is correct. There was nothing in regards to sidewalks or accessible recreational paths going to be created because of the way the development is going to happen. So it's two developers in the same area, so to speak. So Southbridge is building this brand new facility close to the highway. The rest of the development is actually starting from the lake and working its way to the highway. And when you have two different developers with different plans, the idea was, you're going to build from the lake. By the time you get to the highway, that could be 10 years from now. So some red alerts went off. And I've had 3 meetings with the South Maitland Manor Family Council. So they have family members that have created a council that communicate with the people of Southbridge, which is a really good thing. So they called me to a meeting, made me aware of this. I was very dumbfounded and upset by it. And I said, well, leave it with me and let's see what we can do. Long story short, what we've done is we've met with the developer, made the developer aware of it. Southbridge, they don't want to do anything. The MTO will pretend, and I will throw the MTO under the bus on this one. They will pretend like they are going to do something. So they want us to send them letters. But what happens to those letters is receive and file. That's the simple thing. They're going to receive it, they're going to file it, and move on from there. You don't see too many sidewalks on the highway, right? So this facility is close to the highway. You got the shoulder of the highway. The front of the building is actually what you don't see. The front of the building actually faces the lake. So that's where the parking lot's going to be. So now we've had a conversation with the developer because Southbridge doesn't want to. They're building a facility. That's what they're doing. In regards to what happens outside of that facility, they don't want any involvement on helping with the sidewalks. So now what's going to happen is the developer is going to create a 3-meter recreational pathway that is going to be paved. It's going to take you from the front of the facility into the neighborhood, not out the highway. It's going to take you into the neighborhood, and then you're going to jot into the other neighborhoods from there. So it's going to take you towards the lake, and then you're going to make your way north into the other neighborhoods to get yourself to, if they so choose, they want to go downtown or wherever else, right? The developer has promised that 3-meter recreational pathway will be completed before people move into that facility. In fact, he's told us that it probably will be completed sometime late August, early September. So that's where we are with that right now. The developer, who is Rob Wood, has given the plans to the family council to look at, to provide any comments that they choose. So there's been some communication that way through email. And, at the end of the day, something is happening. I think what the family council really wants is something off the highway because it's a quicker link to get into the town of Goderich. That's up to the MTO though. So this is what the developer can do, and that's where we are. So we're making progress. Long story short, we're making progress. Something's going to happen, and hopefully it'll it'll be good enough to keep people happy.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I should have put my hand up.
Oh, go ahead.
It's in much better state than I was expecting. So that's fabulous. I guess that leads to how do we make sure that all this work and all of this back and forth doesn't have to happen again in the future for future developments.
Yeah, I'll just comment and then I'll go to Susan. I think for the town of Goderich perspective, Julie, is when we know that we're going to have a development happen, I think that question needs to be asked. What is the connecting link? What is the accessibility? Mm-hmm. What is the accessible connecting link to get from your development into the rest of the town of Goderich, mm-hmm. right? Because a lot of these developments now are happening, out on the outer ends of town, so to speak, mm-hmm. right? So,
yeah, and in more than just Goderich too, and so how do we make sure that question gets asked? Like what needs to be written into the bylaws or whatever regulations so that question always gets asked?
I'll go to Clerk Cronin for that, Susan, if I can throw
Yeah.
you under the bus now.
And you kind of, thanks for that. And the bus is heading right in my direction on this one. So, so once Julie sent this to us, my first comment was we don't have any jurisdiction on this. There isn't a lot that we can do about it. However, always the thought of, be part of the solution. So Sahil and I had a conversation and we're like, what does this look like? How can we make this part of the solution? And to me, it's a much bigger picture than just a sidewalk. It's all kinds of stuff with new development and site plans and planning and et cetera, et cetera. The reality is, we don't have legislation behind us on this. So what I feel we can kind of start to look at, and there's zero promises on any of this. We brought Hannah in a little bit and she's going to have some discussions with it. What I feel is there's an opportunity to potentially collaborate with our 9 lower tiers and maybe look at having some sort of checklist for planning, site plan, developments, that kind of thing, where we're saying, have we thought of this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Similar to what we do when we do a review. Okay. So I think what we should do is have the review committee, staff is going to create some sort of thing that would hopefully work, some kind of document that we can ask our 9 lower tiers to actually endorse. This is going to take a lot of work. It's not something that can happen overnight. I feel it needs to have our building officials in there. It needs to have our planning officials in there. May have to have some rec people in there, and just create something that looks like it kind of covers accessibility as a whole for a lens on new developments within our municipality. Once we have something created, bring it to this committee for endorsement, bring it to county council for endorsement, and take it to all our 9 lower tiers for endorsement. The reality is there's no legislation behind it. So we can recommend anything and all that we want to. That doesn't mean that it can, if somebody pushed back and said, yeah, I don't have to do this, that's the reality of it. But depending on how strong we can get with this. So I don't know, Sahil and we talked a fair amount about this. We met a couple times on this topic. Do you have any comments, Sahil?
Thanks, Susan. I think what you just said, that just realizing that we're an advisory body only and we can just make recommendations. Those recommendations can be assertive, but they're at the discretion of the municipalities. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't do it. We will still recommend them.
Okay, Warren McNeil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And on this subject, Minister Thompson had a conversation with Mayor Bazinet and myself last week regarding this. She is very aware of it and has been in conversation with the developers. And as Chair Bazinet has mentioned, I think that this will, we were led to believe that there will be a favorable outcome to this. And that is something that's happened this time. And I would suggest it would be something that would be on the radar for future bills, Julie, to respond to your question. What about the next time? So I just wanted to share that Minister Thompson has been involved in this conversation to reach a favorable conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Warren McNeil. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other comments regarding this topic? Not seeing any. Julie,
Lori Faulkner had her hand up. Sorry, Trevor. Chair Bazinet. Lori Faulkner.
Okay,
Lori
sorry,
Faulkner.
Lori. I apologize. Yeah, Lori.
Thank you, Trevor. I just want to add a couple of things. Like, is it at all possible that it be involved with the building permit accessibility check mark, that they talk to us about it before proceeding? That's one of my comments. And the other comment would be, especially the one in Goddard is so important. I know that some people have a spouse that will be moving, that live in Goddard's Place or Harbor Hill, but have a spouse that will be moving to the new facility. And they go daily or every other day to see their spouses, which is very necessary to have the connection, because now they've been able to just go around South Street and get to Mainland Manor. But this is going to really change, and those connections are so important for both parties.
Oh, two points very well taken. And Susan, could you possibly comment on the first one regarding the checklist? I think it's it's a good comment.
Absolutely. Good suggestion, Lori. So what I'm going to propose, and I'm not sure if Hannah has any comment on this, because she will be really vital in this role, because it really does involve planning and site plans and etc. What I'm going to propose is that staff, Hannah, Sahil, myself, we will start creating some sort of checklist, toolkit, something like that. I don't know what we're going to call it. And we will reach out. It will definitely be a collaborative effort. We will need building officials in there, so we can talk to them about having this as part of the application process, the permit process. We will need to have our planners involved in it, and we will need to have maybe rec department, just because they deal with this kind of stuff. So there's going to be a lot of people in this. Let's see what we can create, what we can come up with, and then we'll bring it back to the committee for consideration. Probably it'll go to the review. Staff will do it. It'll go to the review committee, then accessibility committee, and then council and our partner municipalities as well. This is a massive undertaking. I also feel we can reach out to some other municipalities to see if there is one out there. So why reinvent the wheel? But I like where we're going with this. But I'm going to support Sahil's comment that it is advisory only. So I'm hopeful, but so anyway, Hannah, I'm not quite sure if you.
Yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, I think Susan makes some really good comments there. I would also recommend that we also consult with our public works folks locally and at the county, just because this infrastructure would be on their roads. And then I think Susan makes a good point. We will take it back, do some research of what we can possibly improve in this situation. But my only caution would be in terms of site plans, how we typically deal with that. Oftentimes the applications are specific to only one property and one development, which I think unfortunately does lead to some of those challenges of having that greater master planning across different properties and across neighborhoods in terms of the walkable and accessible infrastructure. So that would be my only caution, but that's not to say, that we can't have some sort of policies that make sure at least we're raising that conversation when we're reviewing these developments, notwithstanding there would be some challenges with implementation, but it's certainly something that I agree needs to be on our radar. So.
And just to add to that, when I had the conversation with the developer regarding this, he was more than willing to jump on board and get this done. I'm very pleased that I'm able to have that open communication with this particular developer, and he has that accessible lens as well. I just, it's unfortunate the way things happen, but I will say this: it's better that we resolve this problem the way we are, and it's getting done before people move into the facility, which is planning to happen in January, right? So, action is being taken by the developer. And it's not like he's waiting until December to do this. I believe actually late last week, they started measuring out the 3-meter path. So things are moving forward, and, I can continue to keep people informed as to where we are as well in regards to the development of that recreational path. Okay. Any other comments? Julie, did you have any other comments? Because you said you're good. That was the final one. Okay.
Yep. Great discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee members have any comments? Lori.
Thank you, Chair. So there was some confusion around the tourism website brochure that we were adding some lists to. And I just thought it'd be good to have a conversation at this meeting to kind of clarify where we're at with that. one of my thoughts was, I guess I've got a couple of questions of what all's going on there. Is it only municipal venues that are being added to this list, or is this open to private or private businesses as well? That's one of my questions. And the other one is, can we, if it is does involve private business, can we add the people that we have given awards to for their work in making their business more accessible? I think that would be, you know, something that might be good for the businesses and also tourism to know what places were awarded by this committee.
Sahil, would you be able to?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question. So the sites that we're mentioning on this project are municipally owned or operated, and that's a preliminary stage or stage one. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to involve some private places as well. But as of now, it's only municipally owned or operated places. And what was your second question, Laurie?
I wondered that if we were, and it sounds like down the road, adding private business, we have awarded some municipality buildings as well, but could the people who are awarded by this committee be added to that list automatically?
Yeah, if in future we do add private businesses, I think that'll be a great practice to put our awardees in there, because, you know, they're the benchmark. So yeah.
You're good with those? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that clears it up. Thanks so much. I did like that there was a disclaimer, and also the suggestion was made that perhaps we give a description of the accessibility of the things that are added to the list, just so it's clear for people. It's really unfortunate to go to some place that says it's accessible and has the sign and the punch pad, but not a bathroom that's accessible. So I think it would be a good idea to maybe clarify the level of accessibility on the list.
Julie, you have your hand up?
That was my question, is to what level of detail we can add a description for each of the sites. And I was going to recommend that you look at the Access Now app to see how they structure the things that are most commonly looked for in terms of, you know, entrances and bathrooms and access to the site itself. It's just a great, well, it's a super tool, but it's a good sort of checklist that you could look at, Sahil, as these are the things that we need to include in the description so that people know what's there and what's not there from an accessibility perspective.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I will look into that.
Okay, thank you. All good comments and questions. Anyone else have any comments? Not seeing any hands, so we'll move on to item 7, which is the reports of the accessibility coordinator. So 7.1 is the June 2024 report. Sahil, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So since March, I had this opportunity to partner with many stakeholders across the corporation. So for May, we did this National Accessibility Week, wherein we pushed out programming that was highlighting the municipalities, municipal spaces that are most accessible. And so that was done in May. And then we also revised terms of references for our subcommittees, just so they are more relevant and more practical. In pipeline is the tourism project that we just discussed. There's also another project that's called Access Led, and that's in partnership with the ECDEV, the Economic Development Department, and which we will discuss in this meeting. Also in future is the revision of our multi-year accessibility plan and our annual plan. So that should be discussed in September. Following that, we're also looking into some accessibility training for our county staff, just because, you know, accessibility is just not about physical spaces, it's also about digital spaces. And then also looking into creating this idea, which is inclusion, diversity, accessibility framework. So going forward, all our practices, policies are reviewed through this idea lens. And I think other things include just doing this Indigenous learnings with our county staff. Thanks.
Thank you, Sahil. Any questions for Sahil? Julie, you have your hand up?
The National Accessibility Week stuff that got put out, where should we have seen that?
That would be in the county's press release and our social channels, and also on the municipalities, like local municipalities channels.
Okay, I must not be following the right socials. Okay, and then my second question is about training for the training that you're getting people involved in. I have a feeling that not everybody knows about PASS, and because not everybody has logged in and tried looking at it. So I wonder if we could create some more messages to go out to planning staff, rec staff, clerks, the working group, all of those people, just so that they know that it's there, because I would like to see more people taking it up.
Yeah, so I did send the PASS program to the county staff during the National Accessibility Week, so there's more uptake. But I can also resend it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sahil. Clerk Cronin.
Good idea there, Julie. Hannah will share. I know she will, as I'm kind of saying and asking and telling at the same time. She will share the PASS link with her planners. Vital for them to see it. I know they have team meetings all the time. We also have a clerks working group meeting coming up shortly. We will put that on the agenda for discussion and ask them to share. I know I've watched all of it. Sahil has watched it. Like my team have all watched it. So, but we will push it a little bit more. The other thing I wanted, sorry,
I don't know if all the committee members have gotten access to it yet either, and that.
We will share that right after the meeting then. Okay, for sure, for sure. The other thing that Sahil has not mentioned in his internal report is Sahil's been doing, it's called a fireside chat. And he's hit various topics since he's been here. This is new to the county, and it is an internal thing to try and share education with our staff. So he's done various ones. The one that was really particularly to this committee's enjoyment was Jen Burns, who we've actually had her present to our committee during Accessibility Week. And I cannot honestly tell you how amazing this was, that words are not enough. She killed it, Sahil killed it. It was incredible. And so many staff came up and said how amazing this was. And oh, I had no idea. I didn't know this was in place. I didn't know this could happen. It was awesome. So congratulations to Sahil on that. Part of his role is also educating the internal staff of the county. And this one was incredibly successful. So good job.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Julie, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just I know, Sahil, at some point in time you had sent somewhere that you were doing a blog as well, and I tried to get to it, but I don't have access to it because I'm not a county person. Is there a way around that? Can we?
I don't know if it's open to external stakeholders. I don't know, honestly.
So there's two parts to his role. One is the accessibility of the corporation of the County of Huron internally, policy review, education staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then outside. So not all internal stuff is actually accessible to external parties, even though you're members, but a lot of that has to do with IT security, and we're not going to get around that. and there's reasons for that, obviously, you know. But if there's a way that we can start maybe sharing it in a different format, just to keep you in the loop of what we're doing internally, I think that would be a great idea. And let's look down that path, Sahil. More work for you.
So I guess I have a question myself regarding the fireside chat, because this is the first I've heard of it. And it's a really great idea to create something like that. You get more engagement that way than, you know, a Facebook post with 5,000 words, for example. Was it videoed at all, or moving forward, could it be something where, you know, you have some type of media or some type of presence there where it's a video is created and can be posted online for people to watch?
So it's done on Zoom, like a webinar format.
Okay.
So they are recorded. I just don't know if we can share them out. I don't know about that.
Let's we'll look into that. The reason why it's the intent of it is to educate the county staff, and he's done various. Sahil, I was going to ask you to just highlight the ones that you've done.
So we did. So we started with Black History Month, then we did Women's History Month, then we did a Ramadan, and then we did neurodiversity, which was accessibility.
Right. And Pride.
And Pride, yes, that's
and Pride. Okay. So I just want you to know he started in January. Just the focus. He started in January, and he has educated county staff on 5 really great topics. So I mean, seriously, this guy is doing so great. Sidebar on that one. Let's see. We probably can't share the previous ones because the permission that we have was to share internally. But we will add this to the list of potentially, can we share this if nothing else, maybe with just our committees for education. If we want to try to do the public, 1, we'd need permission, and 2, we'll see how that works. Okay.
Okay, no, thanks for that. If it's education for the staff, that's a great thing. But if you're educating staff, I'm sure there's others that could be educated by something like this too. And maybe it's something we think of down the road as well, right? As
great, thank you.
You know, an event. So I appreciate it. Any other questions of Sahil regarding the coordinator's report? Not seeing any, so I'll read the recommended motion. That Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives a report from Sahil Kassal. Is that how you pronounce your name, Sahil?
Sahil Kaushal.
Kaushal, okay, sorry about that. Ideal Specialist Accessibility Coordinator, dated June 24th, 2024, titled Accessibility Coordinators Report, June 2024, as presented for information. Do I have a mover? Maya moves, seconded by Sean. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to reports of accessibility subcommittees, and we have 4 different reports here. So Sahil, you're going to be busy, right? So the first one is the HCAAC Education Subcommittee Terms of Reference. So Sahil, you're up.
Thank you. So the Education Subcommittee met on April 5, and the only agenda item we had was to revise our current TOR, and then we ended up revising it, and the updated one is attached for everyone's review. I'm assuming everyone went through it, and if they have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Really, that's about it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. Any questions? Not seeing any hands, so I will read the recommended motion. That Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives a report from Sahil Kaushal, Ideal Specialist Accessibility Coordinator, dated June 24, 2024, titled HCAAC Education Subcommittee Terms of Reference as presented for information. And further, that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee approves the HCAAC Education Subcommittee Terms of Reference as presented. Do I have a mover? Sean moves. Do I have a seconder? Fern, you second. Okay. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to item 8.2, which is the HCAAC Directive and Regulations Review Subcommittee Terms of Reference. Sahil, you're on the floor again.
Thank you. So this revision was actually done prior to our last meeting in March, but I just wanted to present all the TORs together. Anyway, so the TOR for Directive and Regulation Subcommittee was also attached. Again, if you have any questions, I'm very much happy to answer them. That's all.
All right. Yeah. Any questions? Not seeing any hands, so I will read the recommended motion that Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives the report from Sahil Kaushal, Ideal Specialist Accessibility Coordinator, dated June 24th, 2024, titled HCAAC Directive and Regulation Review Subcommittee's Terms of Reference as presented for information. And further, that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee approves the HCAAC Directive and Regulation Review Subcommittee Terms of Reference as presented. Do I have a mover? Maya moves and Diane seconds. Any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Item 8.3 is the HCAAC Site and Plan Review Subcommittee. Sahil.
Thank you. So the busiest of all the subcommittees, we met multiple times. So in March, we reviewed the push button arm extension that was for Wingham. And since the project is not due until next year, the review is still impending, just because we're waiting on some more information from the Public Works Department. Next, we met in April. We did an in-person site audit. We went to Huron View in Clinton, where we reviewed the residence apartments. And that was obviously my first time reviewing it. And I think everyone on the committee was tremendous. And thank you, Julie, for all your support in that. And then we also reviewed the EV charging station guidelines, which are being produced by County of Huron as well. Both reports are attached, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And in May, we met to review the South Huron traffic signal. BM Ross representative joined us, and we talked about it was to do with the traffic, installing a traffic pole. And then the Child and Family Services renovation, that's for social and property services, again in Clinton. This one, because the project has this very tight timeline, so we decided we're gonna review the place in person once it's done, and then we can make recommendations how to elevate it in terms of accessibility. Lastly, we also reviewed the terms of reference for this subcommittee, and they are attached. And we are meeting on June 27th in Town Hall, Godrich, to review the preliminary designs for rebuilding downtown infrastructure project. Thanks.
Okay, sounds like you have been busy. Julie has her hand up for a question or comment.
Just to clarify on the Children's Services building, can you explain, what are we doing? We decided to review it after the plans are done or after the reconstruction is done? Because that doesn't make sense.
After they have done the construction. So they said, because the project, the timeline, because of the grants and everything is so tight, we couldn't be there for earlier to review the plans. So they said, what you can do is once the project is done, we can do a post renovation visit, and in future, we can say, hey, you know what? This would be better if the next renovation, you can do this. So that's where we're at. Because they started construction on June 17th.
Okay, just let it be known that I'm not happy with that process because it's backwards. It's silly to go after the fact if we could have had any opportunity to give input before the work be done. After the fact, it's nothing's going to change or be made better when it could have been done ahead of time.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Don't disagree, Julie.
I'm not seeing everyone, so I'm not sure whether you can see my hand or not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, so go ahead, Lori. I didn't see your hand, so go ahead.
Yeah. I'm having some technical difficulties, so sorry about that for the intrusion. I agree with Julie. We discussed this looking at it when we were actually at Huron View, looking at the apartments, and I understood that the decision then was that we would do it after the meeting today. So we need to somehow improve the communication on I don't know, timelines and how we can avoid this in the future as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your comments, Clerk Cronin.
Duly noted and absolutely agree. We did attempt to set the meeting up. Unfortunately, the timeline on this was incredibly tight. We did try to get the meeting set. It didn't work with everybody's timeline and the fact that they're now in there now. So we cannot go on site now because they're there and they're working, unfortunately. Now, we did review the piece that they wanted to review. It did end up being, sorry, a bigger space, but we weren't actually asked to review the bigger space because they're not changing a lot of the bigger space. The idea to actually go on site for this was my idea because there are many things that I thought it could be a really wonderfully educational opportunity for our committee, because there is a kitchen space and there's a bathroom space and there's a parking lot and there's all of this, and it was my idea to go on site. So I will take that. And then saying that, I also didn't communicate with our public or property services department on this, and then it just couldn't work. Now, having said that, we will review after. And we will, so the part that they're really renovating, we have given comments to. And I also have great faith in our staff and their knowledge in this area. So they have the accessibility lens on, which is great. When we go, the idea is to say, if you are able to start doing some more renovations, if there's, a pocket of money that lands in your laptop or in your lap, which would be lovely, we would like you to try and consider some of this and this and this and this. And that was the intent of the entire review. So that's my fault for getting everybody's ideas or everybody hopeful to review this space when the reality is the ask was just the plans at this time. So with the idea that is my fault. I'll take the blame on that one. And I know Carl is working his tail off to try and get us there. And we will still be able to give some great suggestions with future plans, which there is some. It's always budget dependent. So stay tuned on that. I don't know if Carl has any comment at all.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl. But before you do, Susan, you have a busy workload, okay? And you do a lot. And, I don't like you saying that it's your fault. There's all kinds of things that happen behind the scenes, and you have a huge workload that you have to do yourself. So thank you for everything that you do. So Carl, go ahead.
Also, in your defense, Susan, I think when we spoke at the meeting there, when we reviewed the drawings, we did talk about meeting on site, and at that time we did not have a construction schedule. So it really was possible to meet on site at that time to take a closer look at things. But subsequently, they did submit their schedule and they wanted to start right away just to maintain their project schedule. And we can't interfere with that too much because there's contractual obligations there. So we did kind of have to let them go ahead. And just to further reiterate, I know I didn't touch on it too much at the meeting, but anytime there's any sort of grant money, the timelines there, they're usually fairly aggressive and borderline impossible. So we're always under a huge amount of pressure to get these projects done as soon as possible. So I really would have liked to have you guys in there to take a closer look at the space and a full-size set of drawings, which I feel in the future would be easier than trying to review drawings over Zoom, over a small computer screen. So if there's anything that can be taken away, I would suggest that. It's just a lot easier to look at a paper set of drawings on a table, like the full 24 by 36, than trying to look at it on your laptop screen. So just some food for thought. I think the circumstances were really out of our control on this one, and it just didn't work out the best. But I think everybody's intent was there for sure. So
thank you for that, Carl. It was all good comments. So, and I would agree with you on the looking at the blueprints. It's a lot easier to do it in person instead of on screen too, right? So if there's ever the opportunity, let's do that instead if we can. The opportunity isn't always there though either. So that's why these meetings are, at least we can still meet online as well. So there's pros and cons. Any other comments regarding this, the terms of reference? Not seeing any, so I'll read the recommended motion that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives the report from Sahil Kashal, IDEA Specialist Accessibility Coordinator, dated June 24, 2024, titled HCAAC Site and Plan Review Subcommittee Terms of Reference as presented, and further that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee approves the HCAAC Site and Plan Review Subcommittee Terms of Reference as presented. Do I have a mover? Sean moves. Do I have a seconder? Lori seconds. Any questions? Not seeing any hands. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Moving on to item 8.4, which is a report of the HCAAC Site and Plan Review Subcommittee. Sahil.
I think we just did that report.
So we did 8.3 and then there's 8.4.
He kind of did a combo on both of them, the review, the terms of reference, and they're both from the same committee. So, but the clerk wants a separate motion for the terms of reference. So she separated it out. So we have it in the books that they have approved the terms of reference. So
I'll just read this recommend motion and we'll pass it, and then we'll move on to item 9. So recommended motion is that Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives a report from Sahil, IDL Specialist Accessibility Coordinator, dated June 24, 2024, titled Report from HCAAC Site and Plan Review Subcommittee as presented for information. And I almost feel like I read that already, but there we go. It's another motion. Maya moves and Sean seconds. All right, all in favor? Carried. Perfect. Item 9 is new business and or unfinished business. And item 9.1 is the Access SLED program proposal. So we have a tag team here. We have Sahil and Susan with this one, right?
Look out.
This, it doesn't get more exciting than this, folks. Here we go.
Look out. Look out. We don't have a chance on this. Okay. So we're so excited about this. I got to tell you. So, as you know, we applied last year for an Enabling Accessibility Fund, and the committee had kind of agreed to support the PASS program. We were denied the funding. So in our reserve fund, we have approximately $60,000. We have, because we didn't get approved for the PASS program, it's technically still tagged into the portable washroom project. Since the discussion, since the PASS program, whatever, we've been reaching out to a few people, and actually a lot of people have been reaching out to us about, you know, education on small little projects. How do I make my space accessible? How do I do this? Nothing like, not anything that you want to try and put an enabling fund grant for, because the amount of work for that is really high. And I mean, you could be just asking for $500 or $1,000 or whatever that looks like. Then Sahil and I came up with this idea because in the accessibility or in the economic development department, they run what's called the SLED program, and it's Small Local Economic Development Program. And what they do is they open up for applications in the early spring, and there are people that apply for funding in smaller amounts. Theirs is up to 10,000. We don't have that kind of money. And there is a coaching proponent to this. And then there's a subcommittee, and they divvy out money to groups for economic development. And Sahil and I are going, why can't we do this for accessibility? We have $60,000. If we were to give $1,000, that's the cap, out to people, we're touching 60 spaces in the county that we weren't touching before. And that's a lot of things, lot of people that we're touching. And so we've developed this plan. We would work closely with the accessibility or the economic development department. As a matter of fact, we would launch it at the exact same time as they do their SLED grants. So technically they're going to be doing a lot of the work for us as far as the marketing piece. This would be like an arm of this program. And that program is extremely successful. And I don't know, Sahil, if you want to speak a little bit to this. We think it is a way of reaching way more people across the county for accessibility than what we could with the portable washroom project. We think that this is a better way to spend our reserve money. We kind of thought maybe 30,000 the first year, maybe 30,000 the next year. We were going to submit an enabling funding application. If we are successful, we can either bump up the money that we release, or we can extend it for another year. If it's super successful, we can maybe extend it for longer. We can maybe ask council for another ask if it is successful, but this would take at least 2 years to go through. We'd have a subcommittee for it to review the applications. Sahil, if you want to, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm really excited about this program.
Can't tell you're excited at all.
I just think it's a great way to reach a lot of people. There's so many people that we say no to because we can't get there. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what you just said is sharing the framework with this SLED program. So there's less work on us, but we're just basically leveraging their successes, which is huge marketing. They have a huge marketing campaign for this. I think the difference is that our program, Access SLED, would be obviously anchored in accessibility. So any businesses, any services which are providing to Huron County residents or the community are eligible. We hope to create a special dedicated subcommittee under the HCAAC to review the applications. Additionally, what we're thinking is when businesses apply for this grant, ECDEV and myself, we can coach those people with the application so that it's more in congruence with what we're looking for in terms of eligibility. And like Susan said, in future, we can take our metrics, our KPIs, and then create an application for grant. And hopefully this is ongoing program for us, just like SLED.
Yeah. Any questions of the committee members? Julie.
I just need to, I think this is fabulous, by the way. This is going to be these little pockets of money that might just be what is needed for a business to finally say, yeah, I am going to do whatever, a ramp. I would like to see it be more money, and I'll give you a concrete example of why I think each little pocket should be a little bit more. I'm supporting the boot in upgrading and finally creating an accessible bathroom at the boot in Blythe, and grab bars alone for what they are doing is $1,200. So $1,000 is a good start, but it's not going to help a project be complete. And which leads me to my next question, which is when an organization applies for this Access SLED, what do they have to do they have to double the money? Like what's the ask from the organization? If we're giving them $1,000, how much do they have to kick in of their own? Is it just the $1,000 that they, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when you apply for a grant, you have to have the whatever percent to top up that fund. And then my third question is, what is the connection between, like, how are you wording the application for the whatever the heck, the Enabling Change Fund? Because they don't fund infrastructure. So I'm wondering how you plan to word that application when this money clearly is going, like trickling out to infrastructure. That's I'm curious.
Okay, Sahil or Susan, either one of you want to, I guess we'll go with question number 2 first in regards to the top up, possibility of topping it up, or they have to give so much money themselves. Do we have an answer to that?
Yeah, so in the eligibility criteria, there is a financial support criterion. So we haven't determined the percentage yet, but it's definitely in the criteria. This is very preliminary. Just wanted to bring it to the committee and see how do we feel about it. And then we're going to start working on the logistics more stringently. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions regarding this? Susan, have you got down from your excitement level? No,
No,
okay.
no.
McNeil,
I'm so excited about the idea that the number of people that we say no to, the number of businesses that actually even come to ECDev and they're like, yeah, okay, we want to do something. And one of the things we talk about for accessibility is just do something. Anything, like not doing anything is not an excuse. This will allow businesses to do something. And like a grand renovation, if you don't have money, the enabling funds that like they're ridiculously long, like they're 30 pages long of like crap, and then you get nothing out of it. So this is a way for us to actually reach groups, you know, and we're gonna, Sahil is gonna create like a list of use these handbars, arm handrails, use these doorknobs, use these, you know, and it's a coaching and education piece too, which will also be part of the grant application when we say that it's also an educational piece on how to do stuff. So
yeah.
it also, so, I mean, we're bringing it to you now. We would have to take to county council to make sure they're okay with using the reserve funds for this program. The next program isn't until March, so we have some time to get it going. Anyway,
Okay.
it's exciting.
Sahil, go ahead.
Yes, just to touch on the grant program. So we wouldn't be applying for the enabling change. We would be applying for the enabling accessibility grant, which does allow for infrastructure.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Warden McNeil, did you have your hand up? Sorry.
Yes, I did eagle eyes, Mr. Chair. You missed nothing. And I would like to just comment how supportive I am of this initiative. As Clerk Cronin indicated, doing nothing is not an option, and doing something in incremental steps shows consistently how important this is and to spread it through the county. So I support this initiative 100%.
Yeah, and I concur. And I also like the idea that Sahil mentioned about having kind of like a list for businesses, because a lot of businesses might not know what they need, right? And, you know, which sounds maybe silly to say, but there are businesses out there that are unaware of some of the things that they can provide at a minimal cost, that it doesn't cost a lot of money, but can make a huge difference for people to be able to get inside their business and enjoy it. So yeah, I like that idea a lot. Any, Lori, I got your, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's an excellent opportunity as well. I have one question. If we deplete our reserve, how do we do another project? Does this just become what our, I agree, the reserve needs to be used for something that is moving forward. So I really like the idea. I just wonder if we need to hold 5,000 back for ourselves in case we come out of get over budget. Doing site plan reviews, because it can add up pretty quickly too. I agree with what's been said. The list will be huge. There are so many places that just don't have a clue where to order a proper grab bars. So I think a list would be really useful. And I know Julie has a list of suppliers that she's quite confident of their ability to support that. So those are my comments.
Yeah, all about collaboration, right? Clerk Cronin.
So the review money comes out of a different pocket. That's the per diem line, and that's not the project line. So we did increase the per diem line last year because we were doing so many more reviews. So totally separate issue. The depleting the funds for one project. So over COVID, we weren't spending our money, so we just took that money, we put it into a reserve fund with the idea that it was going to go to a project. At that time, it was the portable washroom project. If we went forward with the portable washroom project, we would have took all the money out of reserves. We wouldn't have anything left. Okay. So anything that we have left in our budget, we always ask them to put in reserves. So we will continue to do that. We ask council for that. That's what we do. We will continue to do that. Once we use the reserves, like if you approve going forward with this project, once we use the reserves, we use the reserves. But if it is wonderfully successful, there is potential to ask council for a sum of money to continue with the project. That would be budget like 2026 would be that ask. Okay, not okay, because this is a couple years out. In the meanwhile, we are hoping to get funding opportunities from other places to carry on this project. I truly believe this will be a successful program. I really do. Again, it's always about the financial part of this. Okay. Does that make sense, Lori?
Yes, that's great. So, and I agree. And I think that's excellent. So yeah.
So if you agree with this, the portable washroom project no longer exists. I mean, and we kept hitting roadblocks with it, to be honest with you. And then this would be the project where we were spending our reserves on.
Thank you for that, Susan. Any other questions? Lori.
I'd just like to add to that. I was on the committee when the portable washroom was presented, and it was going to be an incredibly complex project, and at least 100,000. So I think we're better to, as Susan said, get this money out there so people are doing something to start all rolling.
Yeah, I would agree. Any other questions? Not seeing any hands. I do have a recommended motion here. I will read that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receives a report from Sahil Kaushal, Ideal Specialist, Accessibility Coordinator, and Susan Cronin, Director of Legislative Services, County Clerk, dated June 24, 2024, titled Access Led Program Proposal as presented. And further, that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee supports the submission of the Access Led Program Proposal application for funding under the Enabling Accessibility Grant Program. And further, that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee requests the Council of the County of Huron approves the HCAAC Reserve Fund identified for the portable washroom project to be utilized for the Access Led Program proposal. Do I have a mover? Michelle moves and seconded by Lori. Okay, any questions? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Excellent. Love it. Okay, item 10 is correspondence. We do not have any. Item 11 is financial statements. It's there for you, so I will read the recommended motion that the financial statements for the month ending April 30th, 2024 be received. Do I have a mover for this? Michelle moves. Do I have a seconder? Warden McNeil seconds. Okay. Any questions regarding the financial statements? Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried. Closed. We don't have any closed to go into. Items for the next meeting agenda. So if you have any items, I highly recommend that you get a hold of Sahil. Correct, Susan? And yeah, she's got thumbs up right away on that one. So and please make him aware of any items that you would like on our next agenda. And the next meeting is September 23rd at 9 a.m. And before we adjourn, I just want to thank everyone for attending. This meeting was actually, you know, a lot of good questions, good comments. It's nice to have fruitful conversations regarding all of this stuff, and there's a lot of work being done. And I want to commend Sahil. You've been a busy person, you know, just going through this agenda, and you're doing a wonderful job here. And I think our committee members would share the same thoughts, that we're thankful for you. We're thankful for your passion and your commitment to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. So looking to adjourn that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting adjourn at 10 a.m. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Do I have a mover? Michelle moves and Julie seconds. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Have a good day, everyone. The sun's shining. That's always a good thing. Nice seeing everyone. Take care.
Thanks, all.